All right, everybody, I can't do this anymore. I tried, but I just can't. I cannot be a bear. I can't even think about being bearish at this point anymore, okay? So many of you are bearish, but stick around because you're going to definitely want to get your hands on probably more Bitcoin and Monero if you don't already have enough. But first, US spot Bitcoin ETFs see a $170 million net outflow on April 16th, and spot Ethereum ETFs lost $12 million. Now, why did I bring that up? You're like, well, you don't care about the ETFs. No, I don't care about the ETFs, but many people do. And they did back in the day when I was saying very publicly, I was one of the first people to say this, that they're going to sell their Bitcoin and they're going to sell whatever else they go ahead and buy because they want paper profits. So when big corporations, big companies go ahead and buy Bitcoin, they're going to need to show profits. And this is what happens. They sell their Bitcoin, they sell their ETH, they sell their stupid meme coins that they own or whatever. So just keep that in mind when you hear people saying, oh, it's going to be up only because you have all these giant institutions like BlackRock and whoever else buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, so it's not up only. All right, just keep that in mind. So next time you hear that, next bull market, because there's going to be another narrative next bull market, and you're going to have people with thousands and millions of followers and subscribers telling you it's going to be up only. Remember my words. I've been in this space longer than those guys. And Larry Fink isn't going to hold like a Bitcoin OG, all right? Now, moving on to Federal Reserve Jerome Powell. Okay, so he pretty much runs the world. He's the front man. He's like the face behind the Federal Reserve. He's not actually very powerful. He's told exactly what to do. I've done videos on this before, so go back to those. Anyways, he says crypto is going mainstream. Bank rules on crypto to be relaxed. Now, I don't believe that last part. The crypto rules for crypto are not going to be relaxed. He's lying. Central bankers lie. That's how they got into power in 1913. If you know the story, the Federal Reserve got into power by lying to the public that it was for their own good, that it was for, to maintain stability in the economy. And guess what happened right after that? You've had booms and busts and depressions and crazy stuff happening, especially in 1971 when Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard. The Federal Reserve really loved that because then they could issue as much credit as they wanted, or they can print as much currency as they wanted without having any accountability. They had zero accountability now. They can print as much as and they don't have to tell you how much they're printing, because do you really believe what they tell you? If you do, oh boy, you should go back to our first video that we ever made back in 2016 to understand that. Oh yeah, first off, and I said this, that means a ton of regulations are coming. Don't be fooled into thinking that this is a good thing. The Federal Reserve destroys entire countries to get their way. Look no further than Libya or, Gaddafi or Iraq. Let's go back in history, see what those leaders were doing with the US dollar, wanting to get off the US dollar, go onto a gold standard. And boy, US is going to send some freedom bombs on them. Okay, moving on. We have this. China just slapped US oil imports by 90%, and it's now importing record levels from Canada. And just as I shared with you yesterday, that companies in China are now fighting back, essentially going, the confidentiality agreements between, luxury brands and these people in China that are making for the luxury brands are now, going, hey, you know what? This is what's really happening. It's actually coming out more and more now. So it's actually interesting to see the fight that's happening. And get this, China is now offering a 280-day visa-free trip to go ahead and shop in China. No paperwork, no applications, just show up and shop. The fight is on, and I'm just getting into this right now because President Trump says countries will have to pick between the US or China. So we're picking sides here. This is not how things work, and you're going to see what is going to be happening. Now, let me get this straight. I'm not against Trump. I'm not against any of these guys, whatever. It doesn't matter. These guys are just puppets, okay? So they're central bank puppets, all of them. So whatever you hear out of their mouths, just know that's probably not true, and they're probably doing something that's going to harm you, okay? That's essentially what's going to happen. So you're going to see a lot more expensive stuff in the United States. And you're going to see a lot of people actually traveling overseas to go ahead and buy stuff. For instance, like Heidi and I, we go ahead and buy our stuff in Dubai because it's cheaper. No taxes in Dubai, very little tax instead of buying it in Portugal, which charges us a 28% VAT tax. So, screw them. I'm going to go, where the taxes are, less. So that's how things go. And I'm sure a lot of other people would like to do that as well. Okay, now let's move on to Bitcoin. The Fear and Greed Index has spent 90% of the last 30 days in the fear or extreme fear. The index hit a low of 18 on April 9th. So being so fearful in this market, the sentiment is so bad. And I actually did a tweet today talking about, I had some surf buddies that I was talking to the other day. And I'm like, guys, I've never seen so many miserable people in the crypto space. Like, you can just tell with the responses, with the attitudes out there, like, I think a lot of people are just really miserable. But here's the thing, like, investing's a game. If you can't handle the game, you shouldn't be in it, all right? Like, for instance, at learningcrypto.com, I tell people it's a game, okay? This is when we buy when everyone hates it. Then we sell when everybody loves it, okay? I got one thing right. I sold Bitcoin near the top of this market so far. I don't think it's the end, but I still sold at the top of this market. But actually, I did two things right. Then I sold some of my low cap coins when I doubled them. Back in before, Bitcoin went explosive over $100,000. But one thing that I did mess up on, and which I didn't predict right, was Ethereum. I thought Ethereum would actually do better than it has been. But I think what's happening right now is that you have Trump, World Liberty Financial, you have BlackRock, you have all these other entities that are smashing the price down as much as possible so that they can buy up as much as they can. Because think about it this way, Trump, the World Liberty Financial doesn't actually own any Bitcoin. They have RAT Bitcoin, which is an ERC20 token, and that's it. They don't really have Bitcoin. They have no exposure to that. So there's no skin in the game there. But that's fine, because you know what? The more they press the Fear and Greed Index down, which that's pretty easy to do if you can keep the price down for a certain amount of time, then you're going to see explosive prices once everybody's pretty much given up on it, which I've never seen sentiment in ETH so bad as I do right now. Okay, so let's go over to Ben Rickard. So he's the guy in The Big Short. He's the guy played by, what's his name, Heidi? Brad Pitt. Oh, geez, very happy to say that. Okay, so here we go. He says, we are at the end of a credit super cycle that began in 1913 with the founding of the Federal Reserve, which I mentioned earlier. 1913, you got to read your history, which accelerated after the gold backing was removed from the US dollar in 1971. Nixon took us off the gold standard. Everybody says Nixon. Actually, he's just a puppet president, all right? It's really the Federal. No, it wasn't his idea, okay? Okay, massive imbalances have built up and chaos is about to be unavoidable. I absolutely agree with that. We are entering the death spiral part of the process now, where the world's fiat currencies start to implode on us, and it's global. Gold and silver are your lifeboat. Well, I disagree with that. I don't think it's just gold and silver. I think it's also Bitcoin, and you're definitely going to want Monero, especially when the current US dollar collapses, which it will. It's 54 years old right now. It's going to collapse. All fiat currencies collapse. I don't care who runs them. They all collapse. But that's fine, because you're going to have a CBDC. No, it's not fine. So you're gonna want a lifeboat for that. You're gonna want something to where it's very decentralized and you can obfuscate your transactions. Monero is a great place. And actually, I'm looking into Xano as well. So I haven't bought any yet, but I'm looking into it so far. A lot of really cool OGs in this space that have been around for a long time that actually care about freedom, talking about it a lot. Okay, so also with that, China is dumping treasuries and buying gold. So I can't prove this. Nobody can actually prove that they're buying gold, okay, because there's no blockchain. So I don't trust when governments say they're doing this or that. I just don't. I can't verify it, okay? And what's the whole point of Bitcoin? Don't trust, verify. I should have actually wore that shirt today. But here we go. The US should retaliate by dumping gold and buying Bitcoin, this guy says. No, that's probably not a good idea either. You know, the US should just back off completely on these tariffs, in my opinion, and but they're not going to do that. You know why? Because this isn't about tariffs. This isn't about making the US stronger. This isn't about a president. You know, I don't care who's president. This is about the Federal Reserve gaining more and more control. This is about the Federal Reserve, in my opinion, trying to collapse the US economy, collapse the dollar, and eventually bringing in a stable coin, or CBDC. They're not going to say CBDC. They're going to tell you it's a stable coin, but it's fine. It's fine. It's all good. And they're going to control it. Circle controls USDC. Who controls Circle? I think BlackRock does. I think many of you understand this as well. So if you can connect the dots, you'll be able to see where we're heading in the future. But let me know what your thoughts are. If I'm totally wrong, if you think the tariffs are actually a very good thing and you're excited to see your prices going up like crazy, let me know what your thoughts are. And also, with the US isolating itself from the rest of the world, I don't see how that's a good thing, but maybe I need an education here. Talk to me. All right, talk to you soon.